Let's see. Yeah, I think everybody that ate my cookies is here tonight. Yeah, that's good. Whew. Let me clarify something, okay? What I meant to say this morning, all right? I'm not sure what I did say, to be honest with you. What I meant to say was I either baked or cooked cookies. I think I implied that I made cookies. What I meant by baking or cooking them was I put them in the oven and I took them out, okay? My wife did the making process of it. So, Jeff, there's your clarification, all right? By cooking, I meant I put them in the oven and took them out. That's about all I did. But anyway, somebody's got to do that, right? And I'm qualified to put them in the oven, maybe. These books, again, are on the front pew. We ran out this morning, so some of you may have come looking for them. The one I had up here got gone, so obviously somebody saw it and took it. So this is the last box, so please hear me carefully. If you come up here to get one and there's not one there, I need to know, okay? This time I need to know. I had one more box over there in the office, and so I brought it over. I'm going to lay this one right here. So if anybody needs it, be sure to get one. And then if there's not any there, please come and find me or call Marie tomorrow or something and let us know that you still need one so we can get some more ordered for that purpose. In Matthew 25, again tonight, we want to focus in on this idea of watching, this idea of preparation. In Matthew 25 and verse 13, as our parable of interest for the day ends, Jesus says, "Watch, therefore, for you do not know neither the day nor the hour." Now, this is by far not the first time he said this in this context. Go back to verse 36 of chapter 24. "But concerning the day or the hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only." This idea of watching, this idea of being ready, this idea of staying awake and being alert. Verse 42 of chapter 24, we read this morning, "Therefore stay awake, for you do not know on what day the Lord is coming." Verse 44, chapter 24 still, "Therefore you must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect." This is not a new concept or a new plea for them. He's been at this now for several verses. One more, verse 50 of chapter 24. "The master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour that he does not know." Now in chapter 24, as I mentioned this morning, he's talking about some signs of the destruction of Jerusalem, but he's also talking about some signs of the end of time and the coming of the Son of Man. And then it's clear in chapter 25, when he begins with this parable of these 10 virgins, he's obviously talking about the bridegroom, that is, Jesus himself. In Ephesians 5, Paul uses imagery of a marriage and how Christ serves as the groom and the church serves as his bride, and how those two match together like husband and wife, and how they are to treat one another, and all of those imagery there, those parallels. Jesus serves as the bridegroom in our parable of interest for today in chapter 25, and he's coming. He's coming at some point. The issue is that we just don't know when. And so the parable concludes by verse 13, a message that he's been trying to get across through who cares when Jerusalem is destroyed, right? Who cares when the Son of Man comes? I'm not saying who cares in the sense that it shouldn't be important. I'm simply saying, what difference does it make the day or the hour or the time? If our minds and our lives are always prepared, our eyes are always watching and ready, then what difference does it make? So what if you know the day or the hour or not? Watch therefore. Verse 13. Why? Because, well, just a few things to think about. From verse 6, all are going to see him. In other words, be advised that this morning we made this contrast between the wise and the foolish, but be advised they all saw the bridegroom. Regardless of what category you find yourself in, when the coming of the bridegroom occurs, it will be sudden at midnight, verse 6. Not as a reference to time per se, but as a reference to the suddenness of it. At a time when you even least expect it. 2 Peter 3 and verse 10, the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night. It'll be sudden. It'll be unexpected, if you will. Not that we don't know it's going to happen. It's just it'll be a surprise of sort when it does in fact happen. After all, we've been waiting all this time, hadn't we? And it hadn't occurred. And that's the mode that the Thessalonians fell into. Well, why hasn't it already happened? Is it going to happen now? Is it going to happen today? Is it going to be the next minute? Is it? And Paul keeps challenging them, especially in 2 Thessalonians, to just remain faithful. And if it happens today, then great. But if it waits till tomorrow, that's okay too. And if it don't come in your lifetime, that'll be okay too. But Peter says, know this, that it'll come. It'll be sudden. It'll be like a thief in the night. It'll be unexpected in the sense that you won't be just sitting down waiting for it. It'll happen in the middle of life, in the middle of an event, in the middle of a day, in the middle of plans. And all will see him when the bridegroom comes with his cry in verse 6. And they say, here's the bridegroom. And then the invitation's offered. Come out to see him. Philippians chapter 2, beginning in verse 9, the Bible makes very clear that every tongue and every tongue will confess and every knee will bow to the one that God has exalted and given him a name above every name, that is the name of Jesus. And when that time occurs, every tongue, every knee, all 10 virgins were perfectly aware that the bridegroom had come. We also learn from this passage that we studied this morning from verse 9, but the wise answered, saying, there will not be enough for us and for you. Go rather to the dealers and buy for yourselves. We know what's happening there. The foolish 5 have requested all, but what we learn out of that is that you can't watch for somebody else. Wouldn't it be great if you could just sign up to be obedient for somebody else? Would it be great if you could just say, Lord, yeah, I know he's like that, but we love him and we care about his soul, and if God, I would just be willing to take one for the team here, and I'll do enough for my part and his part. Not that that's possible, but if it were, and I'll be watching for him. We have this little fancy doorbell at our house that don't work, and my wife keeps saying if it's not going to work, we need to take it down. I don't really know why we need the doorbell because we have 3, And when somebody pulls up in the driveway, they all go off, okay? And so it's a lot of fun at our house, because we know, and this day and time right now, I hope it's about done. There's the FedEx guy, right? There's a doorbell at the house. It's called a kid. And so we got people watching for us. Wouldn't it be great if we had somebody, hey, you know what? I'm really tired today. Would you watch for me? You know what? I just really been having a rough time, and I just really don't want to do what's right now. Could you take my place and watch for me? That would be a wonderful concept, and I would dare say that many of us in here tonight, we would sign up to watch for other people because we love them, we care about them, we want them to be saved, we want them to go to heaven, we want them to be prepared, we want them to be ready when the time comes. And so, yeah, we would sign up to watch for them, but we can't. I can't watch for you, and you can't watch for me in terms of being prepared in any way. Now, we can be each other's best help, and we can encourage and strengthen and build up and edify and convict each other when wrong, and we should, and love each other through the truth and error of sin, if that be the case. And so, yeah, we have an aspect in which we can be a blessing to each other, but I can't watch for you. You've got to prepare for you to be ready when the bridegroom comes for you. I suggested this morning that all 10 of these virgins were friends. I believe by the culture they were all friends gathered to support a bride in her wedding. So we would call them today bridesmaids. Now, maybe there is some jealousy among bridesmaids sometimes because they want to be the one getting married or whatever. But I think for the most part, bridesmaids like each other. I really do. Sometimes they may not know each other that well, but oftentimes they're school friends and they're childhood friends, and so they've grown up together in some aspects, and they've shared in some part of their lives together and got to know each other, and maybe it's dorm roommates or suite mates, or I don't think they're enemies here at all. Like when the 5 wise virgins say to the foolish virgins, you're going to have to go get your own. I don't think they hate them, or they don't like them, or they don't want to help them. I really believe in the back of my mind they wanted to help them, but they knew they couldn't. And the reason why they couldn't is because helping them would jeopardize where they were, and you can't jeopardize your soul trying to help someone else. Now, in our efforts to try to watch and encourage and edify and help each other and be there for each other and point out sin for each other, the last thing we can do is allow ourselves to be lost trying to watch out for someone else. They couldn't give their all up in fear that they might be unprepared when the time comes. But I don't think in any way that they didn't want to help them, like, well, tough luck. Y'all are on your own. You should have done better. I tried to tell you to do better. I tried to tell you to bring more. You didn't do it, so just tough luck. Go find you a dealer and buy your own oil. I don't think that's the attitude at all. I think they just realize that, hey, for our own soul's sake, we have to hold on to what we know and what we have and what preparation we've made. You're going to have to go, and boy, it'd be great to watch for others, but that just can't. We can't help someone else's soul. We can't save someone else's soul. We can't make someone else's soul get ready for the bridegroom to come. Love them, teach them, encourage them, lead them, show them, be an example for them. But at the end of the day, when the bridegroom comes, they're going to have to stand on their own. And then the third thing I think about, and this just rings loud and clear for me, when it comes to this idea of importance of watching, verse 10, there are no second chances. You see in verse 10 what happens. The bridegroom has come, and those that are ready, that would be, we assume, the 5 wise, those that are ready go in to the marriage feast, and the door is shut. And what happens right after that is bound to happen on Judgment Day. Watch it. Afterward, the other virgins, we assume that to be the 5 foolish who had gone to buy more, came also saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. I think about the words of Jesus in Matthew 7 and verse 21. Not everyone that says unto me, Lord, Lord. Not everyone that says unto me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. He goes on in verse 22 of Matthew 7 to say, there will be many on that day saying to me, Lord, Lord, did we not? Look at verse 12. But he answered, truly I say to you, I do not know you. In Matthew 7 and verse 23, as Jesus ends that context, he says, but I will say unto them, depart from me, I never knew you. Many will say unto me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not? And I will say unto them, depart from me, I never knew you. The other virgins come back to the closed door, and they began to implore from those on the inside, let us in. Lord, Lord, let us in. We've come. Open the door. But the one on the inside, the master of the house, I don't know who you are. There are no second chances when it comes to eternity, when it comes to judgment, when it comes to the soul. Thus the emphasis all through Scripture, watch, be alert, be sober-minded, be on guard, stand firm. Just passage after passage after passage. Hold fast. Over and over again the idea, fight the good fight. Arm yourself with the armor of God. Run the race as one who is aiming to win the perishable wreath, realizing that we're running for an imperishable wreath over and over again. The challenge, be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. So many scriptures to the importance of preparation, alertness, clear-mindedness, sober thinking, sober judgment, sober decision-making, all because there are no second chances. The door's going to shut. And when the door shuts, those that are on the outside will remain on the outside. And so it's imperative that we watch, that we be alert. And so then I began to think about, well, what do I need to be watching for? The first thing that come to my mind is the one that gets me in trouble the most. I better be watching my mouth. I better be watching my tongue. I remind you of what James 3 and verse 8 says. The tongue is a restless evil. Such a small member, yet it boasts such a great claim. James 3 says, like a little blaze, like a little spark, it sets on fire an entire forest. No man can tame the tongue because of its, we better be watching. You know, there are times in my life when what's coming out of my mouth, I sure do hope the door ain't going to shut right then. I wish I would think about that before I open my mouth instead of after I've already said it. What if the door shut right then? What if it closed on that statement right there? You ever think that through? I'm guilty of thinking, I'll have time to clear that up. I'll have time to fix that. I'll have time to explain that. I'll have time to... there's going to be a statement that the door is going to shut on. I don't know which one it'll be, but you be advised that you will say something and the door will shut at some point. Either the bridegroom will come or you'll breathe your last. We better be watching what it is we're saying. But then I got to thinking, you know, if Jesus is correct, and I believe he is, in Matthew 12 and verse 34, he says that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So then I got to thinking, Well, I better be watching my heart, because physically we understand it's going to stop. And what's going to be in it on the last beat? What's going to be in my heart on that last breath that I take? That last pulse that I have? There's coming one. If the bridegroom doesn't come first, I'm going to have a last beat of my heart somewhere, and so are you. Well, what's going to be in it at that moment? Blessed are the pure in heart, Matthew 5 and verse 8, for they shall see God. Blessed are those who are pure. They shall be called sons of God. Pure in heart. Keep your heart with all diligence, English Standard Version. Keep your heart with all vigilance, King James Version. For out of it flow the issues of life, Proverbs 4 and verse 23. So I better be watching my heart, because that's where it all starts. That's where it all comes from. If I get my heart right, I probably have a better chance of getting my mouth right. But then I got to thinking about watching my actions. Not just what I say, but what I do. Because here's what I know. The door will shut on an action at some point in your life. It's amazing to me, the stories at the funeral home. I hate to bring up funeral homes, but you know what the stories are like at the funeral home? Well, what was he or she doing? Isn't that the story? Like what was the last, what was going on, or what was the last thing they did? Or maybe it's said. We've already covered that, but what are the two questions that are going to be asked? Like, right before this happened, they had done, and you fill in the blank. And you can remember that about some of your loved ones. You can remember the last things they did, or the last things they said, the last places they went before the door shut. I'm telling you that story is going to be for you if the bridegroom doesn't come, and for me. And if the bridegroom does come, there won't be discussions going on at a funeral home, but there'll still be a last thing you did, your last actions. What are they going to be? What are they going to look like? Have you ever done something and you thought to yourself, man, I hope the door doesn't close now? Wouldn't it be great if we could have that thought before we've done it? What if the door closes? I better not do this. I better just hold off on this, because it could be that the door closes when I get through. And I don't want that. In Matthew 5, and beginning in verse 13, you know the passage perhaps. You are the salt of the earth. You're the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its flavor, it's good for nothing except to be thrown out in the footpath of men and to be trampled on. Matthew 5 and verse 14, you're the light of the world. A city that's set on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a lampstand, that it might give light to all that are in the house. Let your light so shine. Let your actions so speak. Let your behavior so guide others to glorify God who is in heaven. Better watch what our actions are and what we do. Maybe one more for time's sake. Better watch your opportunities. You're going to give an account for them. So am I. Every opportunity that, James says it like this in James 4 and verse 17, he who knows to do good and does not, to him it is sin. Where do our opportunities lie? I don't know for you. You may not know for me, but here's what I do know. We'll give an account for them. And Jesus makes it very clear, to whom much is given, much will be required. And I think that also includes opportunities. To those who are given many opportunities, much will be required of those opportunities. Paul tells the region of Galatia, you have opportunity to do good unto all. Galatians 6 and verse 10. Especially those of the household of faith. As you have opportunity, we better give some attention to watch for the opportunities that we have in life and ask ourselves, because here's the deal. The door is going to shut. And it might just be right after an opportunity that came across in life. And we're going to have to answer the question, did you make the best of the opportunity or not? What is it that we need to be watching? Oh, I think there's a lot. We need to be constantly on guard and awake. Starts inside, it starts internally, but then it works its way externally to who we are and how we behave and what we do and how we treat others and what we say to others. The bridegroom's going to come. And when that cry occurs, if it's as if we are right now, we're all still alive. When the bridegroom cries, the door will shut. I'll either be standing at the door ready and prepared, or I'll be off somewhere not listening, like that song says, right? I'll be off somewhere refusing to listen. And when I get back, the door will be shut. Jesus says, watch, therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour. Paul said in 2 Timothy 4, verse 6, I'm dying. He said, I'm dying. He actually said, I'm being poured out as a drink offering, and the time of my departure is at hand. You want the commentary on that? I'm dying. It's not very philosophical, but it's accurate. He says the door's about to shut on my life. I feel it. And of all the things I want to tell you, let me tell you this. I fought the good fight. I finished the course. I've kept the faith. He says, man, I'm watching. He says, man, I'm ready. He says, the door's closing and I'm good with that because I'm on the inside ready for when the door shuts. I want you to know that on the inside, there's a crown of life. And God will give it to all, not just to me, but he'll give it to all, 2 Timothy 4 and verse 8. So you be transformed and don't allow yourself to be conformed to this world, Romans 12 and verse 2. You be watching. You be ready. You be alert. Why? So that you can prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God as a holy, living sacrifice. Romans 12 and verse 1. Watch, therefore. Are you watching tonight? When the door closes, where will you be? On the inside or the outside? If you don't like your answer, would you come as we stand and sing?